Hello. Thank you, Ruthanne, for being here with me. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Happy to be having this conversation with you today. For those who are tuning in, Ruthanne is a graduate through the Confident Grief Coach program, and it was just such a joy to have her in class. So, Ruthanne, if you wouldn't mind, could you just introduce yourself and where you are located and a little bit about your work that you do?
Well, I'm Ruthanne Cooke, and I am located in Wytheville, Virginia, and I work with grieving families through a hospice center, but also looking to go outside of that a little bit to just expand. So, yes.
And what called you into the work that you're doing, of course, as a grief coach, but then also with hospice?
Well, originally hospice was like, oh, that would be good to volunteer at. And then turns out I fell in love with it, with the families and the patients and stuff. And it just kind of grew from there. And of course, I have my own grief that I have always wanted to help and share my story with other people, especially if it helps them. So.
Yeah. Are you open to sharing a little bit about your story and your experiences?
Yes. Back in 2016, I lost my husband of 4 years, and I had two little girls under the age of two who lost their daddy in a car accident on the interstate. And um, it was a traumatic moment, and it took quite a while to get over that. So,
Yeah. So many experiences and insight I'm sure that you've learned from navigating that. And of course, seeing how much support we really need in those moments when we're going through something like that. So I think that's awesome that of course it's a sense of purpose from your own experiences as you step into this space wanting to help other people too.
yes.
Who do you enjoy working with the most, or who is there like a special population or a group of people that you feel like you can best support?
Um, I range from teenagers to older. There's really no in between with me. A lot of people have said I'm like an old soul, so I gravitate towards more of the older people. And then honestly, I gravitate towards the teenagers as well. So, like I said, no one in my age group. I've never like, I don't know. It's just one of them things, I guess.
Yeah, well, I would imagine in hospice, there's probably more of an older population in hospice. So sure, there's a whole range of people that end up in hospice as well. But I can see how just that space would call towards serving that population there.
Yes.
And I'm curious about the teenagers. How did you get into supporting teenagers, kind of with that family support?
Well, it's honestly through my church. I've always helped with the youth group, and I was helping one girl in our church and just helping her through some things, not really grief, but just kind of helping them navigate through divorce and things like that. So,
Yeah, yeah. So just being involved with the church and
mhm.
where that led you.
Yeah.
Was there, like, when you think back on your own relationship, of course, with your grief and your experiences, and just with how you support others in your community, what made you realize that you wanted to step into the grief space more intentionally?
I guess when it felt comfortable, like there was a peace about it. I don't know how to make that make sense, but it just like this is where I was supposed to be, I guess, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
hmm Was there like, and it's okay if not, I'm just wondering, was there like a moment or like an experience where you were like, oh, this is what I need to be doing?
Yes, when I was volunteering for hospice, it was just kind of one of those things where they had the sign out, and I was like, oh, that would be fun and different to do. I don't know what I would be doing, but I signed up anyways, and they put me on visiting their patients. And when I was visiting one of their patients, I was like, this is it. I
Mm.
like this. So, yeah, I guess there was one of those moments.
Awesome. Yeah, and now you are working for a hospice facility. Can you just share more about what that's like as far as I know it's a newer venture for you, right? How
Yes.
did you get involved with that?
The lady that was actually the nursing director over the hospice I was volunteering at, she felt led to open her own hospice. And she was like, I think you would do really good in this position if you're interested. And so I haven't done much work yet because it is so new. But we are getting up, like the wheels are starting to turn on that. And so eventually, I would say here in about a month, it would,
Oh,
like, I'm really
nice.
going to be working. So,
Yay, that's exciting. And
yes.
how do you see your experience with, of course, being trained with the Confident Grief Coach School and coaching certification? How do you see that translating into what you're going to be doing with hospice?
Um, Honestly, I see it for working for the staff because, they get attached to their patients and they will grieve in a different way than obviously the family. And so I can see it working in that aspect. And then I see it working before and after, supporting that family, but even before the family member dies. And then afterwards, we will host, I think they give them like a year um, of support after that. And so um, there's always that too, where you can do grief groups and things with the hospice there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that's a good point that, there's so much anticipatory grief that comes into leading up to the end of life, for the person who's experiencing that transition, but for the family members, for all the people showing up in that space, as well as the caregivers and, the people on staff. So I think that'll be super powerful to just have more of those skills and that language to be able to show up in those spaces. And then, of course, after the fact, as they're learning about, how to step into this new life after loss. So, yeah, I think this will be a super awesome way that you get to walk with your people throughout that process. Was there anything particularly meaningful or transformative for you when you were going through the training yourself?
Um, Honestly, um, the whole meditation thing, the breathing, I had never done any of those things. I've heard of them, never even considered doing any of them, honestly. And the whole just breathing and meditating, just being in the moment, that that's what stuck with me
Mm.
through I mean, a lot of good information, of course, a ton, but I think that's one of the things that changed me is
Mm.
that.
Yeah, yeah, I know for me that was a similar experience too. And I love that, that's something that we hope is helpful for people to introduce those tools, like those holistic tools of, coming back to the present moment, and really being able to ground in through, like you mentioned, the breathing and through meditations and how powerful that can be when we're in that chaotic, scary space of, what is life like through this big loss or a transition. So I think that's awesome that, you were able to experience that for yourself. And now you've got some tools you can use with other people too, which is awesome.
Yes.
Can you talk about how your coaching style or your philosophy as a grief support, how do you see yourself showing up for your clients? Do you have like a particular um, philosophy that you'd like to share?
Um, um, I don't know.
That's
Uh,
okay.
just honestly, what got me through my grief, and I guess I would tell my clients if they're open to it, because in solace and everything, not everyone believes in God. So, but that was where I found my strength, was through God. And that's what helped me through my grief, is knowing that there is a God that loves us, and that I get to see all of my family members and husband that have gone on. So that's what kind of got me through. And I would somehow give that to my clients.
For sure. I think that's, leaning into faith when we're in those super uncertain times of, when you're questioning everything in your life, it's like, where do you turn from there? And for yourself, and I know for so many people, like turning towards their faith, their religion, whatever that might look like for someone, can be a super powerful space. So I love that because I think that's, not everybody like myself, like that's not my forte at all. So I think that's great that you have that perspective and you can offer that for people who are just yeah wanting to lean into more of their religious practice as well, which is awesome. Is there anything else you might want to share about the kind of space that you create for your clients? What is it like to work with Ruthanne?
um, I would say it's probably a quiet, focused space, maybe, and of course, fun. So, I mean, we like to make not light of everything, of course, because this is a serious thing, but find the good things, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and I can definitely, attest to that being seeing you in class and the way that you show up as a coach and hold that space during the peer coaching and all of that. Of course, through the program, you definitely have that like that quiet demeanor, but that allows space for everything that needs to come up to be said, to be heard, and to have that presence of yeah, whatever needs to be said. You're that person that's going to be there to listen and to hold their hand through that process. And yeah, like you mentioned, you have your giggle or your lightheartedness that comes in there as well, and to look for those positive aspects, honoring, of course, the spaces that are tough and maybe not so positive. And at the other end of that, of course, as a coach, we help people find those resources to tap into that too. So I think that's great. What's one thing that you wish people understood about grief or the power of having someone like yourself to walk with as a support?
That everything you're going through is normal. And that's kind of what I saw through some of the books that we read through the program. It was everything that I went through grief was normal. So just everything that you go through is normal.
Yeah. Yeah, validating that. I know it's like
Yes.
people feel so crazy or they feel like they're not doing things right or there must be something wrong, and it's like no, this is a part of the process. And yeah, I love that because it's like no one really talks about those aspects of it, where you kind of feel like you're going crazy, but yeah, it's all normal.
Yeah.
What has been the most rewarding part of doing this work?
Um, Seeing people, I guess, healed as best as they can from grief and finding a life after. I guess if that makes sense. You see them moving forward and going on. It's not easy, but they find a way.
Yeah. Yeah, I second that. I think I love that we get to be someone to support that process of like, yeah, finding a new life for themselves, whatever that looks like. Because when everything's changed, it's like people might feel so lost. And like you mentioned, it's like it's so cool to witness that process of like finding those things that light you up again and finding these aspects of life where yeah, where you start to feel like yourself again. So I can attest to that as well. If someone is considering becoming a grief coach or perhaps getting involved with hospice, I know, of course, your role there and also as a volunteer. But what would you want them to know about just stepping into the world of grief support?
It's not at all what you think it is. I don't know what I thought it was, but it's not what I thought it was, if that makes any sense. Just, I guess, especially in the hospice realm, it just all of the things that go with that. And then, I don't know, just, you know, um, my mind has gone blank. Sorry.
That's okay. It's like, I mean, stepping into the grief space and like the end of life space, it's like kind of a liminal, abstract, like unknown, mysterious, like it's
Yeah.
like anything can show up, right? It's like
Yes.
I'm if if that's what you mean by you never really know what to expect or it's not really what you would think it's like. I did some volunteering with hospice as well, and that's kind of the vibe I got from it too. And I think just with that deep emotional work where it's like things kind of pop up and surprise you. And yeah, it definitely takes a certain kind of person to be open to um, those circumstances that can just go in any direction.
Yes, yes, that's exactly what I mean. You just never know what the day may hold, and just have an open mind, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you're the perfect person to be in that space. From what I know from you, just working with you in class and everything, you've got that grounded, calm presence, and I can see that just being so important and calming for people who are in that space of like just the fear that comes up of just being in that unknown space. But you've got that grounded presence, especially with, of course, the breathing and the meditation. It's like that mindfulness that comes into navigating that space. And yeah, you are such a good person for that kind of support. So we're so happy that you're doing this work in the world. Um, how do you see yourself contributing to making grief support more accessible in your community? I mean, I know you mentioned your involvement with hospice, but of course, as the Confident Grief Coach School, that's a part of our mission that we share is like we want this to really be accessible. We want people to have this grief support. So how do you see yourself like, are there other ways in your community that you are going to be bringing grief support beyond your work in hospice?
Yes, I will probably be working with my church and doing that aspect of it as well. And there's been so many people that could use this program and really benefit from it. So, yes, I will be bringing it to the church and all of that good stuff. And, you know, that's one other way.
Cool. Yeah, and you're opening up to having like one-on-one grief coaching clients. Is that your plan?
Yes.
And how about, I know at least in the church space, at least at my church, we had tons of different like grief support groups. Do you see yourself doing anything like that more in a group setting?
Yes, yes. I think those will probably be more successful rather than the one-on-one, maybe. I'm not sure how it will turn out, but people tend to go towards more group than individual, if that makes sense.
Well, in your community spaces that you're showing up in the church and in hospice, those, of course, there's opportunity for one-on-one support really in any setting, but those are spaces where there's already an established community. So that's like a really powerful space where you can lean on one another. And of course, we know we need our tribe when we're navigating grief. So I think that's wonderful that like you can facilitate that space for the people to come together, at church or with the hospice community as well, and how there's just like so much more power and healing and depth that comes from those group spaces. So that's awesome. I'm excited. I'm excited for you and for everybody in your community that you'll get to work with. I know they'll just have a wonderful time experiencing, of course, what it's like to work with you as their guide, as their coach. Is there anything else that you didn't share today that feels important to share before we wrap up here? Any closing thoughts?
Just know that my heart is always wanting to help and to love people. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's like I think it's easy to feel isolated when we're in grief and to feel like we're a burden. And I love that. Just there's people who love you and who want to help. And Ruth Ann is definitely one of those people. So thank you, Ruthanne. If you're listening to this and you are interested in learning more about the work that Ruthanne is doing or connecting with her, of course, her information will be on her coach's profile, so you'll be able to reach out to her that way. And of course, if you're interested in doing more of the work that Ruthanne is doing, we are happy to support you with the Confident Grief Coach School in stepping into the world of grief support. But thank you, Ruth Ann, for your time and for sharing about your story and all of the awesome things that you're doing in the world. We're so honored that you joined us in our Confident Grief Coach family, and we'll definitely be following along to see all of the awesome work that you're doing.
Thank you. It's been an honor to learn from you guys.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Okay.